Okay. So let's then begin. I think it's 4. And so thanks everyone for joining in. Good afternoon. My name is Sanjeev Jain. I'm your host today. I am co-founder and director with Enabling World. And Enabling World is a boutique HR consulting firm. And we do some work I'll introduce briefly. Maybe let me introduce Enabling World briefly. So we are into HR consulting. We do a little bit of work in leadership and talent development. Employee well-being is a big part of what we do. We also work in DEI space for various clients and on selective basis on HR outsourcing services. So I'm joined today with actually the founder of this organization, Sushil Tayal. Sushil, if you can say hello. He's my friend, college friend and a partner here. So we are having good time, working on Enabling World together, right? So that's very brief introduction. He's in Bangalore and I'm in Delhi. Now, so first thing first, let me first invite and welcome the guests here. And we have a very interesting panel. I don't think I ever had such a diverse panel because the topic is such unique. One announcement, today, Dr. Kritika, she's not able to join, unfortunately. She has someone very unwell in the family and she has to attend to that, which we can understand. We all wish, a speedy recovery of her father-in-law. So let me start with Dr. Nandini. Dr. Nandini, namaskar. I can't tell you enough about her. She's the reason why we are having this session today. She's into developmental pediatrics. She's country's one of the best expert into child development. And not only professionally, but she's a missionary, I can say. The amount of work she's doing on child development and difficult areas in terms of disability, development of people with children with autism, etc., etc. She's doing amazing work, and we'll let her talk about it during the course. And Dr. Nandini, I can tell you, you're going to get the lion's share of the questions today.
Thank you.
You being the expert here, but thank you so much, for joining in. Right.
The pleasure is mine, and I love kids. So anything to do with them, with any organization gives me a great pleasure. And thank you for having me. I must be thankful to you, Sanjeev, for inviting me.
No, you are the reason we are doing it here, honestly, today. So she gave this idea and we just went ahead. And then next, let me invite Shikha. Shikha is a very special guest today. And Shikha, thanks for joining in. I accidentally just, met her very recently, just 2 weeks back. And I said, hey, why don't you come and join this discussion? She's a young mother of a beautiful child. She's also called Nandini, right? Dr. Nandini. So we have her namesake in her family.
That's beautiful name. So
yes, it's a beautiful name. So, and I know it's not easy, but she still joined because we thought if you're talking about young parents, why not we have someone who can share from her own experience, right? So thanks for joining. But let me also say, she's an amazing yoga teacher and a nutritionist, if that's the right pronunciation. And I can tell you, she's a celebrity. I asked her accidentally. I said, hey, she said, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, etc. I said, what's your following? I casually asked. And she gave me a shock. She said, 147. I thought, okay, that's reasonable. Then she said, added K to that, 147K. I said, wow, even I have that following. The K is missing. That's what we said. But she's an amazing, very popular yoga teacher, and she'll share her experiences. Thank you, Shikha, for joining in.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be amongst such, great people. Thank you so much.
All right. And then we have last but not least, Clifford. And he is a very senior HR leader. He's based out of Pune. Right now joining from Pune. And he's the Vice President and head of HR for APAC, EMEA, and also global head for employee relations for Infosys BPM, right? That's the organization that he belongs. So thank you, Clifford, for joining in.
Thank you. Hi all. Hi, Sandeep.
So how old are your kids? Let me ask you. We are talking about the toddlers. Do you still remember your early days?
My days of having toddlers was quick because I have twins. And they are 23.
This is called process optimization, right? Just do it in one go.
They're 23 just now, yeah. So
Amazing. So we'll talk about it. How was it having twins together, early days? So we'll share those experiences also, first class.
Sure.
Okay, so let's begin. Vijay, you can stop sharing. So the brief context is that I think we all know the initial few years, especially, I think I understand from Dr. Nandini that 1,000 days, initial 1,000 days are
Just
more.
take,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry, yeah.
So initial 1,000 days are most critical for child's development, right? Cognitive and physical from all aspects. And this is a lesser understood fact. And I think if we can really invest on those initial years, that sets the foundation for person's future, growth and person's ability to deal with the complexities of the world from different angles. And I think today's focus is focused on that initial 1,000 days, right? What as parents, as grandmothers, as friends, colleagues, what can we do to help children grow during those initial 1,000 days is important. And secondly, children is any investment in children is a good investment because future belongs to them. And if I see, I'm turning 60, just now in few days, I've seen a lot of change, complexity in the world, in the society that we live in. And it's going to get complex and complex bigger, right? This investment, if we can make on children, can really help them prepare them for the world they're going to face, in their adulthood, in their teenage, etc. So that's an important investment. So let's get straight into this. It will be a conversation. I would really request all the participants to keep sharing your experiences, comments, and to the experts, feel free, Clifford, Dr. Nandini, while you're not talking, if you see a comment, feel free to jump in, chime in, give your comment. And my experiences, we normally have a parallel session running, one on the camera here and the second one on the chat. And so let's have this conversation. So I cannot resist but Shikha, to start with you. How has your journey been as a young mother? Why don't you start with that?
Okay. I didn't know that I will enjoy motherhood so much. It's been a very challenging, I'd say challenging yet very beautiful start. The initial few weeks are definitely challenging. You're here, there, it's chaotic. But I think there is so much beauty in the chaos that I have really loved, and I'm still loving each and every moment with the child. And she's growing so quickly. I think time's flying. She just turned 4 months on Sunday. I'm like, yesterday I was pregnant, and she's just turned 4 months. Time's flying. But I think I am making the most of each and every second that I'm with her, and I am enjoying it to the fullest. Definitely a challenging phase. Every day is a new learning, and she's growing. I'm growing with her. There's learning, relearning, unlearning. So much that's happening. But I think it's a beautiful process, and I think time's flying, and I just want to, keep all those memories with me.
No, I know you keep sharing also. I went through your Instagram account. I saw some of the, beautiful stories that you keep sharing with your followers. So that's a great thing. So we'll talk more about it. Thank you very much. I'm happy that you are enjoying this. And so we'll talk about it. What was the chaos and what was the beautiful part of it as we progress. So Dr. Nandini, coming to you, first of all, why do you think these 1,000 days are critical for children's development, right? You can help us or unpack this for us from your experience point of view.
Yeah. See, one of the greatest, revolution, I would say has happened in the last few decades is understanding child development and what makes us adult what we are. And, not like our times. Now, they've understood the why and how of I'm going to trace back why and how of what we are as adult we need to survive, to grow, and is laid in the first 1,000 days. Now, let me explain this to you. As an adult, what is it we need? We need two things. You as corporate people and understand as executive functions. What is like focusing, attention building, your working memory, that whatever you have learned, you can recollect and use it. Or you can talk about inhibitory control, that in this situation and social situation, I'm not going to do this, or I can do this. A social situation, or for that matter, what we call as cognitive flexibility, or thinking like, I will change my strategy here. This is not working for me. Can you believe? All these are the things which you use as adult, and which requires, one is self-regulation, as we call it, that you regulate your feelings, your emotions, your what you're growing up, all these, building these skills. This, can you believe, is laid in the first 1,000 days. Of your first 1,000 days, you lay this skill in your child. How? Because you're not born with these skills. You're born with a brain which has enough capacity to learn this. And every day from day one onwards, you're building this. The brain makes, should I say, 1 billion connection every second between its neurons during this time. Can you, and that in what? In these areas. And how does this happen is what this workshop, which I'm going to do the next 2 weeks from, is all about to understand. What is important in this is the most important thing for a human being as we are evolved. The generations have changed. When my time, I didn't have internet or a phone or anything like that. To your generation, I call myself fossil to your generation Z, Y, whatever you all are. So in this fossil generation, we had a black phone to dial to come to this. But as human being, in this whole process of evolution, what is not changed is social interaction. We are social animals. We need to be with each other. Whatever is the support you may get on your social media, Instagram, blah, somebody is advising you, some do this. But ultimately, it's your social interaction with your people around you, your friends, your people, your relatives, your colleagues, your school, everywhere. We are constantly with people around us. And those people around us make the difference in our lives. And this is laid in our social interaction starts with the caregiver. And the caregiver, when she or he also these days, or anybody, I don't say particularly the mother, it can be, lays down a secured bonding with the child. They call it a bonding. Or bonding is not just feeding, looking after the baby, feeling needs. It is an emotional, non-verbal connect you make with your child, by which the child feels he or she is very secure. The parents will look after me. They will soothe me when I'm distressed. They will keep me safe, and they'll give me an opportunity to thrive when I'm ready for it. That is, so the brain needs this, and that is laid in your first 1,000 days.
Do you
Second
think,
thing,
one thing I wanted to check, Dr. Nandini, in your experience, you meet a lot of parents, right? Every day. In your such a rich, your professional life, you met so many people. Do you think people understand the importance of this 1,000 days, or it's a fact that is lesser known? People
no, you see, it becomes so much in the last decade. Even in my own academy has the first 1,000 days. The parents, we need to make this more aware. I don't think parents know it. If they know it, they don't know the importance of it. And they don't realize that many of them do it very automatically. If I tell you a game like Peekaboo improves working memory, does this, you'd say, wow, many things. I just want to tell you how it is ingrained into our own, many things are intuitive. We do it automatically without realizing why and how. That why and how, when you reveal to tell them, why should you do this, I think makes a lot of difference. That's what is my feeling, is that this bonding, which is very important, if parents realize that, they will make an extra effort to see that what can the child is born with, and what is the second thing the child requires to learn is experience. When we allow a child to experience, the brain is only wired when I eat for my own self. If you feed me, it's of no use. If I do an activity, if I shake a rattle, my brain says, oh, shaking a rattle makes noise, so it's a cause and effect. And so everything the child does, the wiring happens is when you make a child do an activity. So many present day parents do mollycoddling of the kid, not allowing them to do this. Particularly, we are very authoritarian culture. In our culture, we really don't do two things. One is an emotional expression, We don't teach our children how to express their emotions very early. So they go, that is why perhaps we have the highest mental disorders in the world, whether you like it or not. But I think, but at the same time, we have such a rich creature. Can I just quote you an example of my own self? I am a fossil in 70s. So when I had my baby, my mother was practically illiterate. Every time I would go to feed my baby, she would say, why are you sitting like the whole world is gone, fallen on you? Why don't you put a big bindi, put a big shawl around you and feed the baby? I said, Goma, what big deal is going to make? Do you know the science behind is today they talk the baby's first thing we develops is hearing, vision, touch, your sensory system. So what it is in your culture that if you wear a big bindi and wear a red shawl, the baby looks at it and probably like it's bonding. You feel it's looking at you, it's going to smile at you. So there are so many things in our culture which is there. We do it inadvertently, or the present generation thinks all rubbish, these ritual practices, do them away, no use. But believe me, I was like that 70s. Imagine what you all would be regarding the cultural practices.
We'll
but
talk more.
Each one of them have a big meaning. So this is what I want to emphasize and tell you all, that take these small, the thing which you require to do with your child should be timely. Timing, critical time is very important for the brain. If you say, I'll wait and watch and do later after 2-3 years, well, you've lost this billions connections. So that is why the first 1,000 days are so critical.
No, I think you explained it beautifully. We may be doing intuitively because, sometimes parenting is so natural, instinctive, right? And natural. I mean, sometimes I was just thinking before the session, why should you even talk about it, parenting, isn't it? Because it's so natural, such a beautiful thing, automatic, instinctive, but still, I think the complexities have gone up. And as you're saying, you had your ma with you to guide you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Sometimes we are in a nuclear family. Children are, young parents are staying in different cities. Both are working, complex situations. So sometimes I think they need help, and which is writing. So Clifford, coming to you, I mean, I know I've been into HR field and you are a big HR leader, but sometimes the question is, where should we draw the line as a corporate? What is corporate responsibility? We have to take care of the parenting tomorrow. Then how should they eat? I mean, so where we can draw the line, and how do you think it is corporate's responsibility, or to really help young parents, employees as young parents? What's the business case? Why is it important?
Sure. Thank you, Sanjeev. In fact, while Dr. Nandini was speaking, obviously, she was using jargon which is related to her field. But I was thinking about the jargon which we use in corporate world.
Yeah.
What she called social interaction, I called social capital. Wow. I also have 100 days, not 1,000 days, but I also have 100 days program in corporate. And obviously, in terms of self-regulation, obviously, it's so relevant for us also. Yeah, so coming to your question, Sanjeev, I think, I think the pandemic, I think has brought in that radical change for work, for the worker, and for the workplace. And I think that is something which has created a much larger impact, where maybe at some point of time a corporate could, avoid such things. But today it is imperative for every organization to pay attention to this. And because of that, in fact, if you remember, at some point of time at the outset of the pandemic, clients were not, very happy to have work from home. Even the banking industry and the financial services, right, had that kind of a challenge. But eventually, everybody had to comply because if they wanted work to be done, then, that's the only way to do it. Providing that, I think today, of course, with all the pandemic, we're all behind us now. The fact is that there is a taste of it, number one. Number two is the nuclear families that are, continue to exist. If we don't provide that flexibility, it's going to be obviously a challenge. Now, today, we are looking at so many types of employment itself, right? Whether it's part-time employment, gig working, work from home, a permanent work from home, partial work from home, flexible working, part-time employment. I mean, you name it, it's there. Yeah. And if an employer is not accessing what is available, then employers are going to be missing out on talent. Yeah, and that's exactly what's happening. So you would have read about a recent news item, right, where a particular large conglomerate is they've had their women attrition has gone high. Why? Because they said work from home is going to be difficult. Now that was a very clear reaction to an announcement. Now, is that something which is possible? A lot of executives, a lot of business folks are saying we need to bring the people back to work. But is that really possible? Apart from that, today with the new generation itself are very clear, right? I mean, our generation was very clear: work hard, and do your best. Today's generation is very clear. They want to spend that amount of time at work, and after that they have a life.
Yeah.
No, my son, when I'm working at home, sometimes late evening, he'll finish his work and he'll come in and say, I mean, how long are you going to work? Do you not have a life? Yeah. And that's exactly what today's generation are talking about.
I exactly agree with you. I hear these comments every now and then. Even sometimes when we go on vacations, I have a temptation to carry my laptop. Something may come up. He said, world is not going to fall. I mean, if you think you are running the whole world, you're mistaken, right? I think the new generation is very clear, and I think I have to unlearn still a lot of things. I agree with you. Sure. So what kind of policies, Clifford, that you have, which can, one is flexibility should be given, I think that you're saying, and you feel if the young parents as employees, they're supported, they're less stressed, they can be more productive, right? They can do a better work. That's a business case that you're talking about, isn't it? Absolutely. But can you name, we'll have more discussion, but name one policy that you think you might have thought through or introduced which helped young parents deal with their situation better? Can you share one?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, Sanjeev. So in fact, even before the pandemic, there were a lot of organizations just like mine, which actually allowed a certain amount of work from home. Yeah, but today, because of the situation, there is an employment change. So, for example, today we are also dabbling, and we have already announced. I mean, we have already provided with offers, appointment letters where it's permanent working from home. Now that's a large change. Of course, we're trying it as an experiment for a year, but it's something which we ourselves want to test it. It's something which is very. Another thing is that not everything can be created into a policy or process. But one of the things that we have done very recently is provided a guideline. And this is when we're talking so much of diversity, we're talking so much of support to the family, bringing the family in, bringing the child into work. We're providing guidelines. See, it's not about the HR guy, right, who's doing it. Eventually, it's the business who has to drive it, right? Eventually, they're all working for the client, for the margins, for the revenues. And if they don't feel comfortable with a guideline, right, which they should also have flexibility to provide to their people, I think it will not work. So providing a guideline to our business managers saying that, these are aspects, these are not policies, these are aspects of flexibility which you can provide to your people. You decide it. I know that there is an element of subjectivity which could come in, but the fact is that eventually the business guy also has to drive the business, also has to drive the client deliverable. So
and in that situation for him,
it's a tough situation for a business
managers
guy
to be into, correct, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll talk more about it.
I want to add something here. That the situation is so complex. People are having children very late now. It was not like we had in 20s. They're all, well into their 30s when they're having, and they're already a high, biologically, as we call it, they are high-risk parents, and many conception these days are through IVF and artificial, which the baby is far more at risk. And you have to realize that these children require even more support to see these 1,000 days are, fruitfully engaged by parents. And I mean, it's what's a yin yang, whatever situation you want to call. So I feel it's a double whammy for the young generation, that they need to lay this foundation pretty good, making best use of the brain. Right. This is I don't know how you corporate do this. You must be seeing this, and the mothers are so, they said, ma'am, we're already 35 years. This is the only child we can have. They keep on telling me. I said, then okay, do the best. So this is a situation where you all in corporate world must help these young mothers like this, weed through this.
You're
so
right.
your policies should address this, isn't it?
So parents not so young, but the children are young, but the parents are not so young now, right? So that's true. So Shikha, coming to you, how do you, in your experience, because you are just living that experience, right? Beautiful. Is it very challenging to mix work? Because I know you are a professional, right? And you're very busy in your work. You would have taken a break, I know, for some time, but how do you manage the balance, the home? I mean, we all said and done. A lady has to take care of the house, whatever we say, right? By and large, the fathers are also contributing now more and more, interestingly. But how do you balance the baby and the work and the home? What has been your experience, and any tip you want to give to maybe other young parents who would have joined today?
See, first of all, I think, like you said, that the father, is like a support in the whole thing, but the policies currently, in corporates are not very supportive, I'd say. I think he was there only for 10 days with me through initially. So it was really tough. Like I said, the initial few weeks are really tough. There's so much happening. And with, being a new mother, there's so many hormonal changes that happen. You're going through postpartum depression. Everything is so new. The baby is so small. And the baby is dependent on you completely. So the whole mix of emotions at that time, and very little support from the other parent, because of policies. I'd say I don't want to blame or put it on the corporates, but it is a little, I'd say challenging for one parent to manage, especially in the initial few weeks, right? 10 days is nothing. 7 days to 10 days is nothing. But yes, when it comes to managing, I think initial few weeks, you have to go with the flow. There is nothing that you can do to set a routine or to set a schedule with the child, because you're feeding on demand. Everything is on demand.
Absolutely.
So you're basically, going with the flow, and even the basic task like taking a shower, having a meal is done between those in between feeds, or in between, during the nap times. So, the initial weeks just go by like that. But yes, 2 months and 3 months into motherhood, I've realized that there is a kind of routine that I've started setting for her. And there's like a morning routine. Establishing some sort of morning and night routine gives me some sort of an idea of when she's going to take a nap, when she's, and using these apps and all to put in the feed timings, gives me a certain idea. Okay, this is the free time that I'm going to get. So even for this call, I had to feed her right before the call, before this panel discussion. And I know that, after 1 hour, I'll have to feed her again. So, you have to prioritize and, plan. So there is a bit of planning that goes in.
Can I ask you something personal, and you have an option to answer or not answer?
Yes.
Use of technology. I know you are technology freak, right? I mean, in terms of, for various things that you use. In terms of in terms of managing the baby, do you use apps or technologies to plan your day or your routine?
See, if I show you, I have like a 1 month record of feed timings.
Wow.
I've been using that, and I, right, left. I keep putting that on an app so that I get an idea of, that helps me. Even if my mind's not working, even if I have like a mom brain, that supports me to, keep a track of when I've changed the diaper, when I've fed her. So that really helps. And yes, you have to use technology to keep a track of things that you want to finish within those,
Maybe you can put in the chat, maybe some useful tools that you're using. If anyone wants to benefit, you can do that.
Honestly, I am using the most basic notes on Apple phone.
Okay.
Like the notes, just to make notes.
Got it.
And I'm also a very pen kind of person. So in the morning, whenever I get time, whenever she's napping, I'll just write down on things that I want to complete.
Okay. I understand. I think that what you're saying, you have to go with the flow. You will learn you have to just go with the flow, and secondly, leverage your support system, whether it's through
Oh,
technology
yes, you have to
or
delegate. You have to learn how to delegate. Like, as a mother, I'm
Yes.
always, I want to do
super mom.
bathing, I want to do the massage, I want to do this. But I've learned that you have to use the support system. Only then you can get your work done. So I use, not use them, but then grandparents, then you have your partner, just involve everybody that you can. And, it takes a village to grow a child. Yes, it definitely, to raise a child, you need.
I mark that. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I think, Dr. Nandini, thank you very much for sharing that experience. And I think the first child is the biggest learning, right? And by and large, second one, you know what to do, what not to do. So, Dr. Nandini, one specific question. What do you think is the role of the environment, of the relationship of the partners in children growth? This is a very, very specific question, because I got this question from when people were registering. Someone asked this question: what is the role of the the relationship, the partners, or the environment at home for a child? Is the child really grown enough? Do they really observe what's going on? Can they feel during the initial 1,000 days?
Okay. You should. The role of the family and the environment is of paramount importance. Do you know it's in the? You'll be very surprised. I like what that's what I said. The evolution in science. The most important period is actually the last trimester of pregnancy for the mother. If at that time, if the mother has any kind of stress, it reflects on the baby's temperament. If you have a difficult baby who's crying every day for every drop of a hat, or if you have a baby with a difficult, quite a lot of this is the stress hormone called cortisol, which is quite transmitted. Actually, the emotional development, the baby has a right and the left brain. For us, the right brain is all about emotion. Left brain is all about logic, linear, linguistic. It really controls. But what develops in the beginning is the right brain, is your emotions. So that's why you fail in life because of your emotional well-being not being good, or emotional intelligence, or whatever. So a stress during this. So I often wonder, if how well a partner looks after his wife during this last leg and the first 1,000 days helps him to understand. A toxic, we call it toxic environment. That means where there's violence, or where there is indifference, or where there's no support, or, the people, this is an environment where the child can perceive it. You perceive it through your body, you perceive it. The child perceives how the baby mother holds it, that soothing or safety feeling. It's the emotion. This is what we are born with. It's something called, in our term, we call it experience expectant. That means the baby expects these things. The parents will soothe me, they'll care for me, they'll keep me secure. And that's how you lay the foundation of a security. So if you have a toxic, and then there is it's called post-traumatic stress disorder. A PTSD is a big thing. And many children we find with a very bad environment come with attention deficit and a whole lot of behavioral problems. So please understand, be very supportive to the mother who is undergoing all these changes which Shikha just talked about, that she needs a whole environment, including not just the husband, the mother-in-law, the father-in-law, the others around her, to make her feel very happy. That's the crucial thing. If I can summarize this whole 0 to 3, that's all social interaction is all about. And that is so crucial. If that's missing, then we are not giving the best. We all survive. All of us are not. It doesn't mean the child is had. The second thing, Shikha, I want to tell you, it doesn't need, the mother need not do everything. What you're doing is so beautiful, is delegation. The child can feel secure with the father, it can feel secure with the granny. Even a caregiver, a nanny who is wonderfully supportive to the child's needs can be there. But there needs to be a kind of a constant figure in the life of the child that the child relates to. That's the most important.
Thank you for sharing that, because I think you made it very clear. We had some idea about, the environment. It's very obvious, but if it can affect so much, is something that at least I did not know, but thanks for sharing that. So Clifford, from your point of view, I mean, if the way I'm feeling, the world is complex and parents need this help in this education. What is the role that corporate as HR or as corporate we can play in providing that extra support and education to parents? I mean, as a corporate, I mean, any good practice that you've heard in the industry or in your own organization, would you like to share?
Yeah, Sanjeev. In fact, you actually asked the question which I wanted to, in any case, respond to
I
Dr.
started anticipating now.
Yeah. So incidentally, Sanjeev, I think a lot of organizations today, a lot of corporate organizations are having something called a women's network. Yeah. To get people, the women. I mean, that's part possibly of also their diversity agenda. But I think in Infosys, we have something called WIN. Which is, women inclusivity kind of network.
Yeah.
And those are fantastic forums, of course, for a lot of other things, but it also deals with parents. Now, there is also something which so there's a lot of clubs that, organizations create. And one of them that we've created is called Family Matters. Now, this Family Matters Club is something for, parents, specifically for parents. And we kind of, talking about parents who adopt children in the absence of the larger family, and specifically in the nuclear family. We're talking about how do parents manage children below 3 years or above 3 years. Your relationship
with your Infosys BPM club. This is your Infosys BPM employee.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
So there is also about, I mean, and we talked about, toxic environment. How do parents or how do spouses, react to each other, especially during this time when there are so many hormonal changes that are happening, right? There are also, of course, we also have, the maternity leave even provided to a lady who's single and who adopts a child. Yeah, so that's something which is, something which we allow for. There are lots of single parents, of course, who are managing, and that's where, a lot of conversation happens over these family matter groups. Health and fitness of the parents, and especially the mother, during that early phase when, possibly a lot of nutrition required. I mean, while you may go to doctors, but experiences of new mothers being shared, right? And of course, then, creche being provided, of course, is something which is also required from a lot of organizations. So I think these are things which have been very supportive. Now, in that context, and we talked about policies earlier, even bringing the child to work.
Yeah.
It's something that we've been encouraging, of course, at all ages, till about the age of 16. You can actually bring your child to work. Every weekend, of course, you can come to the campus, but otherwise, we have a day for the child to come in. And that obviously influences a lot of things.
And Clifford, employees use that? I mean, do children
Absolutely.
love to come?
Absolutely. So the entire holiday season, the month of May, for example, the children could come into this. So, and of course, there is a group which also manages engaging of those children. So we have, painting competitions and all sorts of things for the children. So it's so that, the mother can at least spend some time working, but, the child can come to work. We're also talking about, so the campus weekend I talked about already.
Can I ask you something I'm intrigued to ask?
Sure, Sanjeev.
The presence of children at the workplace, it reduces the tension, it makes more fun, and,
Absolutely.
the environment is much more lively. Is it?
Absolutely. Yeah. It becomes a lot much lighter because the moment you enter the campus and you see children around playing and children talking and then, some of my own, for example, some of my teams, right, they bring in and they say, this is my boss. I say, no, he's my boss.
Wow.
There's a lot of interaction with the boss and the child also at times, which is fun. And of course, there's a lot of engagement that happens. So yes, absolutely. Then of course, workshops.
Clifford, we had I remember I was in HCL. So we had a very heated discussion in the boardroom once, and the leaders were talking passionately about something. So Rajiv Sarup was my boss, business head. So he had a audio clip on his computer with the giggling voice of a child, right? He quietly just put it on and, everyone just stopped for a moment and everyone started laughing and the whole tension was gone, right? So he just played that. So I think that's a great thing. Actually, what you're saying is very insightful, that, presence of children itself at the workplace can really improve the whole atmosphere. It can, wow, that's, are you doing by design or it is accidental?
It's something which is designed. See, we have, I mean, for years together now, we've had something called petit infotion. So
what is it?
It's called petit infotion. So, every employee's child is a petit infotion. So we have a day where the child and children, we have a lot of games and fun for the children. So that's a memory. So in fact, a lot of retention happens around those conversations also. But so we started off with petit infotion, but after a period of time, we had folks, who come in and provide us feedback, and we said, yeah, absolutely. That's also one fantastic way of getting employees back to work. So getting their children, because a lot of parents are actually facing the challenge because creches have not yet opened, and there are places where the parents still require support, and many a times working from office is definitely a lot better, not only by the employer saying the employer, but it's a lot of our parents are telling us, right?
Yeah.
If the lady's at home, she has not only to take care of the house, she's got to take care of the children and yet manage her work. And then, of course, the requirement of a cup of tea by her husband also, right? But otherwise, she gets a lot of focus at work. So I think
really, it's a difficult time to be in HR. You don't know where to stop, where to pay, but very creative. I thought Infosys is great at outsourcing, but the parenting outsourcing, the parenting responsibilities is what you're getting into. That's amazing, but wonderful work being done. Thank you very much. So Dr. Nandini, I wanted to ask you something. Language, learning language during this initial 1,000 days is very important, right? And that's one thing the child learns, right? What I wanted to ask you, and I've stayed in Bangalore, imagine a situation, a Tamilian family staying in Bangalore, right? So the child has to learn Tamil language because that's their, the mother tongue. Then the child has to learn Kannada to some extent because they have to deal with the people around, and English because the child goes to international school, they learn English, and Hindi also because Hindi is our national language, right? What I want to ask you, in this complex situation, is there too much of a pressure on a child to learn different languages, or they do it intuitively, it is easy?
No. You don't have to worry about the languages being spoken at all. It doesn't make it. In fact, many of the research studies which come with, not so much because India is so complex with so many languages, but 2 languages, the children with dual language, which is most common, like usually the Spanish Americans, and it's do much better than a single language. So the child, we muddle through understanding, but languages, and this age, the child perceives only sound as this. What is language? Language is a sound which is put in a particular way and something which we understand. So what the child understands is at this age is a lot of gestures, the non-verbal communication through the eyes, through this thing, so rather than the language, and you give a meaning to that gesture with the language you're using, so that child learns that. But it's all a sound strung in a particular way, and in a particular, most of the languages have the same sound, like pa, ba, ma, da, pa is in, whether you say it Hindi mein bolo, Angrezi mein bolo, English mein bolo, Tamil mein bolo, it's the same thing. So what happens is the child perceives sound at this age and gives a meaning to that as it keeps on wiring, its brain. What is learning is wiring the brain, in a more complex way. So that you should not be so worried about at all, Sanjeev.
Actually, thanks for clarifying, because I thought, and the child understand when the child is talking to, say, Amma, to Dadi, he has to speak in Tamil intuitively, and they have to speak to the friend in English. I'm not talking about 1,000 days, but as they grow up, they understand this, what language to use with whom, right? I feel it's not an extra pressure, right? I'm actually worrying about it. Okay.
That's also good to know, because we have multiple languages. We have Hindi, English, and Punjabi. So I'm a Punjabi, my husband's a Telugu. So Even I was worried whether, the child's going to pick up multiple languages or whether she'll get confused with so many languages being said.
Initially, when they speak, they will say, Amma Kodu, you may use one, say, give Pale or something like that, So, but that's okay. But they learn it as they go by. They may use one word from Tamil and one word from, English. Or something. But it's so fun, I think, to.
Shikha, I wanted to thank you very much I'm relieved actually, because I thought this is too much of pressure on a child. Shikha, coming to you, what is your advice, your experience of leveraging resources? One is the father supporting, grandparents supporting, nanny, etc. That is one, physical support or emotional support. But when it comes to information, there's a lot. I mean, I remember when I became father, it was in 89, right? There was no phone. No internet. So I still remember I had a book called Child Care. It was a thick book. I kept it with me just for emergency. I don't know where would I go. And so that's what it was. But in terms of using resources, what has been your experience? There's a plethora of information, YouTube, Google, do this, do that. And in India, you get unsolicited advice on everything. Nahi, aise karo, ye khao, ye karo, wo karo. What has been your experience? Some good resources that young parents can go to for? Is it the doctor? Is it your pediatrician or counselor? Where should we go?
Me, I have the last 3-4 months, I've decided to listen to my own intuition, and listen to my own child, because, every child is different. I'm also part of these mom groups, and there is plethora of information. Mera bacha aisa, this mother says this, there's so much information. And like Instagram has so many reels and so many videos on somebody saying something. And also, like you said, your parents, this side of parents, that side of parents.
So sabki suno, but apna karo, listen to everything.
And I'm very, very selective on what I want to pick up from books, so I trust my pediatrician completely. That's one, because I spent some time choosing the pediatrician. So that I'm very happy about. There's a book that she has written. I follow that, her and intuition. I think I listen to my child. I'm present for her. And, I think in being present with her for the last 3-4 months has given me those, I don't waste time. I understand her cues really well now. So I don't waste time beating the bush. I'm like, acha, theek hai, now she needs a feed. Now she needs this. So you have to be present in the moment with the child to know what she wants and so that's what I'm doing. And I'm going with the flow. She's changing. I am flexible with my approach in terms of, whatever strategy I want to apply. I'm flexible. So it's like an everyday learning thing. But I don't do a lot of idhar ka sunna, udhar ka sunna. Very limited information and the doctor. That's it.
And does the technology, because another follow-up question is, a lot of times, we spend, if you see your screen time, sometimes it can be 8 hours, 7, without you knowing also, right? And any advice for the young parents in terms of, the digital detox or, staying away? And I know you are a Instagram 147K. I will never forget
I'm running everything on the digital platform.
So does it come in the way of your child at the mother?
No, not right now. And also, I think, I don't know what are with these kids. They understand when the TV is on. They understand when the phone is on. They keep turning and they keep looking. So I have to be very careful with my devices around her. So I usually, when she is napping, I use my phone, not while I'm feeding, when she can actually move around and look at the screen or anything. But yes, you can't go without digital these days. Because, and for me, that's business for me. So, but I choose when to use it and how much. And I also have these timers not to go beyond so many hours and not waste time watching or spending a lot of time, grasping unuseful information. So that
self-regulation is too good in Shikha.
Yeah.
That's what you need to teach your kids also. Self-regulation is the crux to success. So if you're self-regulated to do what and that's, you have to grow this at different ages. It gets foundation in the first 1,000 days, but 3 to 5, it's different. 5 to 8, it's different. Teenagers, it's different. We come to the adult. But you have to keep on building blocks. That's why the very facts, and you call this building blocks of parenting. At different ages, you have to do at different things. And Shikha, this is what you're doing is what's called bonding. That is, you're responding your child, you're seeing your child, you're understanding your child. That's what is called attachment bonding. And that is what which provides a secure attachment. And one thing about the daycare, which parents, I just like to say this, that when you choose a daycare, of course, sometimes you have to choose. You have no choices in life. The only thing you have to see that, daycare has to be chosen we don't license our daycare. And, in India, there's no regulation. But I feel a single caregiver at home is much better than a daycare. Because daycare, what happens is that you have multiple people who look after the children under the daycare, and there is a strict regulation. In fact, there is an organization called 0 to 3, which is founded, it's an international, so 0to3.org. Their policies also, what should the daycare have? What should you say? See, for example, if you have children below 6 months, you should have at least one single caregiver for 3 kids. Because that's how the attachment has to occur. And another thing is you cannot mix toddlers with the preschoolers. See, this is one experience I want to share with you of a wonderful IT mother who went to work at 1.5 years of age, left a child in the daycare. I know by 4 months, she came to me, she says, something is wrong with my kid. He is a monster. At home, he throws and everything, and I cannot control him. He's biting me. I don't know what has gone wrong. I mean, she says, why did I leave him? You see what happened? This child was bullied by a 3 or 4 year old was the same. He would take away his toy. He would hit him, but the daycare, they had so many kids. She did. So, he was not regulated. And this boy, the minute the mother would say it's the morning, he'll start crying. His separation anxiety became so much that I would leave, he would cry, and it became so much so that it took us a good 8-10 months to get this child back off, and the mother really had to take a sabbatical. So be very careful when you choose your daycare. That is, what is the ratio? What are the speed? It doesn't require a big qualification. Mothers, like our mothers were, it requires that instinct, that maternal kind of, that I want to do good to this kid. I want to be kind and empathetic person is what you require in the life of a child. You don't require big doctors.
This is a great advice that in terms of...
And be careful when you choose daycares. See what is a mix. And because you can change. I mean, the life child, this is very important. That's why I prefer a single caregiver at home, be it a grandmother, be it even a nanny who can be, these days you have cameras to you can monitor your nanny from home, from your office, and see that she doesn't put the child in front of the YouTube or in front of the screen for a long time. How is she playing? You can give a set of activities for her to do if she doesn't know it. There's so many things you can do these days, So
Dr.
this
Nandini,
is simple advice I wanted to share with you.
This is very helpful actually, because we may be intuitively doing this thing without knowing. But, there's a question, I don't know the name, but Xiaomi M2102 something. It is addressed to you. Does picking up a child every time makes them clingy? And
not at all. Not at all. You are telling that, what the child requires, say, no matter what's distressing you, I am here to you as your guardian to protect you. It does not make a child clingy. In fact, the child understands, I'm distressed, I'm soothed, I'm secure. That's what you need to do in the first 1,000 days. Especially when the child, this is the old concept, let the child, if you pick up, he will get into that habit. All that is all very authoritative. It's all very, very toxic parenting, actually. If you let the child cry and feel, because what does the child feel? I have nobody in life. Sometimes my mother carries me, sometimes she leaves me. What is this ambivalent situation? So the child grows up with kabhi haan, kabhi na type, what we say, and becomes very secure. These are the children who can't make decisions. Can you believe? They say, should I do it? Should I not do it? That kind of a situation. See the impact which you don't see it has later. We see that in fact, the type of a personality you are and how you bring to the table itself is a big questionnaire we call adult attachment interview these days, AAI, which tells us all about what are all the pitfalls you had as a kid and what are you going to bring to the table as a parenting. And if you know, You can correct it. There's a lot of science. This is what I tell you. While it's intuitive, now parenting has become a scientific art. You put art into it, but with a scientific knowledge, then you do a damn good
So
thing.
I think the taking clue from what she's saying, so we have a couple of announcements to make. And, I would request and suggest anyone in the audience, if you have a question, you can unmute and ask the panelists, right? Because we could take some questions live from the audience. It'll be a good idea, right? Because we have covered some of the questions that came our way, and 1 hour is not enough for such a important topic, but I think we got a lot of insights. I personally got a lot of insights, which I did
Sanjeev,
not.
I just wanted to add something before that is open, and I think it's valid for the participants at least here. I think one thing that having a baby itself is stressful for both the lady and the guy. They say that, having a baby itself is the most stressful time for a guy too. Now, one of the things that we've realized over the years is that the role of the manager in all of this, right? The role of a manager to be a lot more sensitive, a lot more empathetic, to ensure that when the lady comes back to work, she's provided, number one, the flexibility, but not only the flexibility, but also the kind of project that she's put on. So that's something which, in fact, that's a very, very important part, because even, for example, just giving projects which are not, which don't have very tight timelines. I know it's very difficult in the corporate world to provide that, but being that sensitive person as a manager, I think the manager has a very important role. You can create policies, you can have all your processes, but if it's not practiced on the flow, it's of no use. And the role of the manager is a very important.
I think you brought a good point.
Another thing is the yardstick of performance. See, what happens is the corporate world is, after performance, right? It's about a performance management culture that you create consistently. And that's where, again, the role of the manager comes in, saying that, how can I be a little more understanding, provide that flexibility, provide a project which does not have very tight timelines, and allowing for roles which can provide that amount of flexibility. For all practical purposes, we allow individuals, when they come back, if they don't want to go back to the same job and take possibly a job which is, which possibly they believe it will be a little more lighter on them to manage their family, or avoid projects which would be a lot more stressful, which are coming. I think that's a very important role in the corporate world. So
great point.
I think the role of the manager, I think I just wanted to say just that.
No, thanks to you. You brought that point. It's important. So Yashwant has some questions. Yashwant, if you can unmute and go ahead. And in the meantime, I'll request Vijay if you can share the slide. We have a couple of announcements to make. So Yashwant, you can unmute yourself and then talk in case you have to ask a question.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity and also sharing the insights on a very pertinent topic. My question is it now the time, not just for the organized sector, but also for the larger unorganized sector, to kind of, come up with the, frameworks which will be gender agnostic as far as, the development of the child is concerned, right? So if you have the gender agnostic policies, wherein the male and female both can work together, to raise a child in a meaningful way. Do you think it is a high time now? Because when we talk about the maternity, it applies to only the organized sector, which is hardly even 8% of what we have in the country, right? What about the 92%? So going even to the 92% is a very big thing. But at least to start with, we must have the child agnostic, gender agnostic policies. What is your take on that? And what can be done about it?
So very crisp answer. In fact, Clifford, if you could also comment on this, being in the corporate, while Dr. Nandini will certainly support that everyone needs support, right? Whether it's a corporate, organized, unorganized, everyone needs a support. But since we are running short of time, any quick one-line comment, Clifford, from you on this? Thanks, Yashwant, for raising.
See, I think globally, I think that is something, but in India, it's going to take a long time. Yeah, it's going to take a long time. That's a reality. Today, when we talk about SMEs, we're talking about small companies. Large companies today can afford to do such things, but maybe very difficult immediately.
Much before that, Yashwant, we have to change the attitude of men in this country from the beginning. It doesn't come in at that age. All this toxic environment, and you see the kind of, the other day I was watching the data from where I think beating women, 70% of the men think it's perfectly wise. And I think you have to bring up boys in a better way from the beginning. Your school education to start that. You have to start that from much earlier to respect the mothers and, so that educate, I think that yours is, you're so valid, but let us reach there. No, that's what is my take on that.
So I think thanks, Yashwant, for raising that question. So we have some just quick announcements. So these are some of the programs, parenting programs that as Enabling World we do offer along with a lot of experts. If we move on, so I wanted to also announce that along with Dr. Nandini's organization, Thoughts Guide, Enabling World, we thought of doing a workshop. It's happening in July 22nd and 29th July. So there'll be a link in the chat. Anyone wants to join? So there's a very notional fee of 199 rupees, so that people who are serious who join, and this money will go to a child welfare, some NGO that will go. So it's not for commercial purpose, but for people to be serious. If you want to register, there's a QR code here. You can register here. Otherwise, there'll be a link in the chat that you can access this program. So it's happening 2 hours each on 22nd and 29th, that is Saturdays, 4 to 6 p.m. So that's what we want to do. So she's very passionate. Along with her, there'll be Dr. Kritika, who could not join today. I can tell you it'll be loads of information and valuable, knowledgeable, and it'll be an interactive workshop that we'll be doing along with them. So, and this money will go to NGO actually, because it's not for commercial purpose, but we'll give it to some child welfare fund. So thank you, Dr. Nandini, for volunteering to do this. This will be great, workshop for a lot of people who want to use this. Along with, so if Vijaya, you can share the link, Shavya, in the mail also will send this. Those who have joined, please leave your email address here. So this is the link that Sushil has shared. Also, please leave your email address in the chat. We'll send those links and resources to you on the email as well, right? Now, before I close, we are at 5. I'm a little over by 1 minute. Normally, we close sharp at 5. I must thank Shikha to you personally, and please thank Nandini from our side because I think she, allowed you to be here for 1 more hour. I took time from you for being here and sharing your personal experience, the very, very practical tips that you shared. So thank you very much, and blessings to Nandini. All the best for your beautiful journey that you are into.
Thank you so much.
And Dr. Nandini, I can't thank you enough. You have a huge experience and information and knowledge that you shared. And I think a lot of people would like to benefit through the workshop that you're doing, right? There's a lot more we can do about it. So thank you very much for this. And please convey our regards to Dr.
We want to tell you exactly what activities to do at what age, which benefits to lay foundation. That's the workshop. It's just playful. How to enjoy your kid is the most important.
That's great. And Clifford, thank you very much for joining. I know it's a very busy time for you, but sharing your experiences, wonderful experiences. I think I feel now I'm 60. Otherwise, I would have loved to join back again. I don't know your policies allow. It's such a great employee friendly. And I think what I like it's not you're doing because it's a good thing to do. It makes business sense, right? I mean, you are able to connect the both, and it makes much more sense. So thank you very much for joining. And audience, you are amazing and in terms of interactive. So I hope it was helpful. And if we can, there'll be a poll, a quick poll for 30 seconds of how did you like this session. Please give your candid feedback. That will help us improve these knowledge sessions more and more. And I want to thank Sushil and Vijay, all my team members who really worked hard to do this. And this brochure, will be available to you on email. And there's a link here. You can download this brochure of this workshop as well. So with that, I think we have come to the close of this talk. I enjoyed this discussion, although it's too late for me. My children are grown up, but I wish I knew these things when I was growing as young parent, but nevertheless, thank you so much and stay blessed. And, we'll talk again maybe next month on some other interesting topic.
Thank you, Sanjeev.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Ji. Namaskar. Thank you, Meenakshi, for joining in.